Hello everyone, my name is Nandisa Sabila, and now I will explain my analysis on one of the QUT Gardens Point Cafe, which is Merlo Café. Merlo Café is located near the main library of QUT, which makes it suitable for both students and academic staff to come and visit this coffee shop. Here, the Merlo Café covers both indoor and outdoor area, and in this analysis, we will be focusing on the indoor area. In the indoor area, the space is divided into lined up and order area, barista area, waiting and grab area, and lastly the eating areas. This research will examine the behavior of the Merlo's consumer by the process of buying coffee. On the left side of the Merlo Cafe is a free space for public to go to the library. The circulation in this particular area is quite complex due to the mixing area between the one who wants to pass the area and go to the library, and between the one who wants to buy and wait for the coffee. Thus, a collision is frequently happened in the circulation. The actors in the Merlo environment are baristas, academic staff, and students. This study will focus on the academic staff and students as the customers. The activities in Merlo Cafe in order are QUT, wait for coffee, choose seating, and go or stay in the cafe. The study will cover the behavior in each of the activities. Firstly, the QUT process. In this activity, a theory of affordances by Gibson is the reference of the behavior explanation which people engage during QUT. In this planned waiting in line and ordering area, the retractable barrier acts as queues in an L arrangement, giving the consumer a direct and immediate perception of an organized queuing. The first three people in the front line stays in an L-shaped line, whereas the fourth and so on people on the line are clueless about where they should stand in the line up. Therefore, we can see how important a queue arrangement is needed to be put thoroughly in case if a long line occurs. In this ordering image, when we take a look on the second female customer, who happens to be the oldest one among the other young adults, she is keeping a quite far distance from the woman who is ordering. This referencing us to the personal space gets bigger as we grow older. We can compare it to the third female customer, who stands closely behind the second customer. This proximity happens because of the female-to-female interpersonal distance is not as high as male-to-male distance. Another point that can be clearly seen is the third and fourth customer occupies themselves with their gadgets. This happens because they try to kill the waiting time. In this part of waiting for coffee, the interpersonal space is shrinking due to the limited space and options. Therefore, this limitation can create a potential of interacting with each other. The next stage is waiting for coffee. In this plan, it can be seen that the consumer's body are facing towards the barista bar as a sign of readiness and an expectation towards the menu they have ordered. Here in the circle, we can see that there is a collision between the ones who want to pass by to the library and the ones who want to wait for the coffee. This leads to a personal space invasion. During the process of waiting for the coffee, the behavior of the consumers vary. Firstly, we can see instead of sitting on the chair, the woman is putting her purse on the chair. This is a symbol of marking a territory in a public domain, so when she takes her coffee, her seat remains hers. The second is a man who stands along the column. According to Zissel, objects that are placed in space might be perceived as the space dividers or connectors. In this case, a column in between the Merlo Cafe and the block hall acts as a separator or a border. Objects imply obvious options for use. For example, a table is meant for people to eat or work. However, an object has of more potential for users who has physical capabilities, daring, and imagination. In this case, the woman is leaning her arm onto the tall coffee table as this woman is tall enough to lean on the table. In other words, An object can be seen as a props for behavior. At the same time, they have a host of less obvious latent implications limited only by users' physical capabilities, daring, and imagination. Both are visually occupied by playing with their phone while waiting for coffee. Here, they are visually occupied, but the coffee counter is only 80 centimeters high, which allows an audio connection between the barista and the consumer. Thus, the coffee counter is a barrier that apart the barista and the consumer visually, but connect through auditory. The next activity is choosing seating. The interesting part of this activity is the environmental awareness comes to play. When choose seating, firstly, the occupants will automatically obtain an environmental perception, which is a large-scale sense of seating options as the image on the left. Afterwards, the occupants will be more selective to the chairs as the object for them to sit on. In this object perception, chairs' properties such as brightness, color, and material come to play. There are two types of chairs. First is the black one, which is dark and less eye-catching, made of plastic and has a higher contact with people as it is not installed to the wall, whereas the brown couch has a brighter hue compared to the black chairs, made of cushion and planted to the wall, which gives a sense of more secure and safe. In this part, we can see the people who come individually, marked with orange color, tend to sit near the wall with the cushioned seating, whereas the people who come in communal, marked with purple color, are mostly sit near the hallway. It can be seen that the customer who comes alone tend to be more aware of the environment. They tend to be more cautious when it comes to choosing a seat compared to the customers who come with their friends or colleagues. According to Gifford, we pay very little attention to our surroundings when there is a presence of command attention, such as the presence of friends. They tend to be more flexible in choosing seats even though that particular seats may cause discomfort. This is what we call with environmental numbness. The last activity is the settling at the eating area of Merlo Café. There are four usual behavior of people who sits here, such as socializing, working, resting, and grab and go. It can be seen that the people who are working, marked with a red color, tend to sit beside the wall or on the brown cushion. This happens because the people who work tend to have requirements related to concentration and productivity which can be met by the sitting locations and sitting materials. Therefore, a certain activity can affect on where people choose their seats. Facilitating users' sense of control over the space is another tenet of social design. The more occupants can alter a space to meet their needs, the more comfortable they will be. Many of us feel free to move the tables together to work in a group, as you can see from the plan and the image. However, when the tables are moved together, which can be occupied with 4 people, and 1 or 2 individuals use the table, the remaining space of table is not used by the other people. Take an example of the right picture where there are only 2 people who use the table, and they put a spoon and keys on the empty table, which remarks as a territory of them. The last one is the design recommendation, which will be focusing more on the queuing and waiting for the coffee process. In the process of queuing, the line can be a bit confusing for those who are queuing outside the retractable barrier. Therefore, a clear queues arrangement can be used to remain an ordered queue. In this case, the lines on the flooring can be helpful for the customers as they provide a guidance without taking an additional place. As for the waiting for coffee, there should be a clear boundary of space for those who are waiting. The boundary can be made perceptually. Another point is the habits of the customers who are playing with their phones due to the boredom of the passage time. Providing an object that can distract the person from the feeling of bored can be an alternative way in killing the waiting time. With this design recommendation, we can see how there are lines on the flooring as the environment cues that will give a direct and clear perception towards the perceiver, in this case, a boundary of waiting for coffee. As for the mirror drop ceiling can be an extensive views of the people in order to avoid the feeling of limited or trapped by the perceptual lines on the flooring. The mirror can also act as an interactive design for the customers, making the customers feel occupied while waiting for coffee. In conclusion, a clear cues and a well-arranged of cues could provide a well-ordered, direct, and immediate perceptions. A coffee shop should be designed in a way where people feel comfortable. Therefore, this recommendation may be helpful to enhance the process of activity in the Merlo Cafe. Thank you.